Namaste. That is the greeting in India. So I hope you had a good lunch and are now ready to hear all about the exciting stuff happening in India. My name is Vaibhav, and those who don't know me, I've been working in the satellite industry since 1998 with Hughes. So today's theme, which is SATCOM demand and capacity, shaping India's digital future, is going to be really about what's happening in the industry. Earlier this year, in March 2025, InSpace, which stands for Indian National Space Promotion and Authorization Center, released its decadal vision and strategy for the Indian space economy. The vision really was to capture 8% of the global space market by 2033. The forecast really was that the Indian space industry has the potential to attract as much as $22 billion in investment over the next 10 years. So this is for space. And specifically coming to the satellite communications vertical potential, the revenue target or the potential of the market really was that by 2033, it could be just under $15 billion, about 14.9 is what the report actually put out. So very interesting report. Do go online and check it out. It's accessible to the public. It'll give you a good idea in terms of the kind of aggressive mood the Indian economy is in. So to talk about this and also to connect that to the topic of this APSCC meet, which is sovereign networks and AI, we have two very interesting speakers. Our third speaker today could not join, so very sad not to have Nelco on the panel. But we have Shivaji Chatterjee, CEO and MD from Hughes Communications India, and Utpal Bhaumik. He is B2B Business Development Lead, India and APAC at Amazon Kuiper. So I'd like to invite each one of you gentlemen, maybe you could take a couple of minutes to introduce yourselves and your companies, please. Shivaji, maybe you could start with.
Hello. Hi. Good afternoon, everyone. So this is the lucky panel after the lucky draw. And we could only draw two panelists. But, it's great to be here again at this event. I am head Hughes business in India. Hughes has been operating in India as a service provider since 30 years. And I've been with the company for 28 years of that. And it's great that, to see this kind of resurgence in SATCOM technology and policy happen in the last few years. And that has definitely created a different kind of buzz and stimuli in the Indian market. We had pretty much diversified into many complementary areas to SATCOM through the last decade. But now seeing this kind of technology actually threaten mainstream telcos, it's great to be here, great for APSCC to highlight India with a separate panel and topic. So look forward to a good discussion. Thanks.
Great. Thanks, Shivaji and Vaibhav. Look, we've spent fabulous 3 days and I've met a lot of you. It was my first APSCC and thank you for, again, inviting me here. It's good to be sharing dice with Shivaji and Vaibhav, who've actually been my mentors in the industry. And somebody like Shivaji, who was actually instrumental in providing inputs to a lot of these InSpace and other India satellite reports and all. So it's great to be sharing the dice with him. I represent Project Kuiper here from Amazon. Project Kuiper is Amazon's initiative of providing LEO constellation services globally and providing connectivity, fast and reliable connectivity to consumers, businesses, and governments. Obviously, like Vaibhav said, $15 billion predicted out of SATCOM, projected out of SATCOM over the next 10 years. And Kuiper recognizes this, and that we are at a very good inflection point in the industry where India's growth and the entry of the LEOs are coinciding. And we feel great to be part of this journey, and we would like to, and we are very excited to work towards building a business for with a lot of potential use cases and potential business that is there in expanding the existing fabric of connectivity that is there in India.
All right, thanks, guys. So just to move on with and connecting this to the topic of the conference here. So to share with you a few developments about the Indian market and bring that right into context quickly. Over the last 3 years, the Indian defense budget has grown significantly. I don't know if you're aware of this, but the current year's fiscal budget in India, the fiscal year is April till March. So the fiscal budget for 2025-2026 is about $78.3 billion. And that has actually grown 9.5%. It's a 9.5% increase over the last year. Also, interestingly, of this budget, $20.76 billion is the capital budget. This generally means that that's the kind of money the Indian government will be spending, and the military, the defense would be spending on modernization of the military. So that's about sovereignty and the kind of money the Indian government wants to spend. And most interestingly, in August 2025, Independence Day, the Prime Minister of India always gets up on the ramp early in the morning and gives an Independence Day speech. It was a very long one. This year was one of the longest speeches he ever gave. But part of that, he had a very interesting point to make about the vision. He spoke about something called as Mission Sudarshan Chakra. And this is a multi-layered indigenous security shield to protect critical establishments rivaling Israel's Iron Dome to be fully realized by 2035. And that's a big vision that he unveiled and unpacked as to what India wants to do with security. Earlier a few days ago, if you've been watching the launch news, etc., you would have also seen ISRO launched the GSAT-7R. It is about a 4.4-ton mission. I think the Indian space folks are really, really excited about the Indian satellite, the launcher being able to lift that heavy a payload. It's a multi-band payload which provides secure, high-capacity communication for both civilian and defense. And it's notably going to be used by the Indian Navy for SATCOMs. So that's again, the kind of work which is going into sovereignty and the kind of investment the country is making. Connecting to AI, one of the biggest news actually, amongst all the things that's been happening recently in India and a lot of investment coming in, one of the biggest foreign direct investments into India was announced by Google, $15 billion into building a data center for AI in India over the next 5 years. And that's one of the biggest chunk of money committed by a foreign company into India. So it's there's a whole space in terms of what's happening in India, a lot of AI, sovereignty, etc., and movement. So let's connect this into what's happening with our panelists here. And I'd like to just kick it off quickly with the first question here to you guys, and maybe I could start at the other end this time. Nutpal, over to you first. So what do you see over the next 3 years, as a future for SATCOM in India?
Well, like I said, we are at a very exciting phase. $15 billion predicted over the next 10 years, and that's what the InSpace report says. $2 billion, to be precise, expected out of the next 3 years from consumer and enterprise capacity. So we honestly see a big opportunity in India. And like I said, we are at an inflection point where India's growth, digital growth, and the entry of LEO are kind of coexisting together at this inflection point. And then it's a good opportunity that we recognize to be part of this business ecosystem. We see a lot of opportunities with enterprises especially with a lot of corporate as well as telco backhauling. We see consumer, we see a lot of mobility opportunities with aero and maritime. And apart from that, we also look at basically all this digital inclusion programs that especially is aligned with, you mentioned the PM programs, but I think aligned with, I'm mentioning another program called Developing India, or we call it Viksit Bharat Vision 2000, where they want to include digital inclusive. So we will be working with our partner ecosystem and to kind of cater to this program to provide fast and reliable internet to underserved and unserved areas. And that really excites us over the next 3 years.
Right. Shivaji, you want to take a crack at that?
Sorry, repeat the question.
So what do you think, given what's happening in India and the overall perspective, over the next 3 years, what do you see about the future in SATCOM and where the demand is really going to come in from?
Yeah, I think the big thing is going to be when Starlink launches in India in a few months. We've been a country which has been starved of supply forever, and we're almost on a 2G, 3G equivalent generation of satellite capacity and cost till now. So now to see, this latest gen, both in terms of capacity, performance, and cost come in, I think that's going to really test how much of demand is there. We mustn't forget that I think India is one of the best served market by terrestrial and mobile wireless, with two big telcos which have covered 99% of the population with 4G and 5G. And India is a large country, it's very tough to do that. And at price points which are the lowest in the world, and with a data consumption which is the highest in the world. So it's going to, it's a big challenge for any, whether it's Starlink or Kuiper, large terabit constellations to come in and serve. So I'll say that we'll really see what kind of demand. There's a good buzz about both these constellations from the bigger broadband space. For a very specific enterprise and defense space, there's no doubt, they are all looking to migrate. We have over 100,000 enterprise sites today, and we are going to look to transition them to the newer technology. So from our point of view, it's a straight upgrade, and these newer technologies will bring new users and market segments, and we'll talk about it.
So just to follow on question to that, so are you seeing that there's going to be a declining role in terms of the geo space, or you just think that the customers will adapt and use more because of the fact that there'll be more bandwidth, like you said? It's 2G, 3G now, but probably get higher capacity, more speeds in the new technology.
Yeah, I think when you're looking at performance and cost, definitely LEO will score in general. There are still a lot of applications where geo is better. So where you have, say, thin route ATM or point of sale, where we have a lot in India, it's very tough to match the proposition and SLA of a geo terminal and the ability to give a kilobit service, which may be all that's needed at that site. Secondly, I think for aviation, especially global aviation, geo will continue to play, and like the Indian Airlines, both are looking at geo backed with LEO for their global aero fleet, mainly because there's a lot of the world which still is not covered with LEO and maybe never will. So we must, see it from that point of view. And of course, whatever just the sheer legacy that geo has, it's not going to be so easy to just transition. There are RFPs which are, say, year 2 out of 5, so they'll all play out. So it's going to be a mix of how things move. Our focus is going to be transition and upgrade the sites which really need the bandwidth where applications are not performing, and look to actually go into new markets and grow the base. Otherwise, it will become just cannibalization.
Right. So you said something interesting. You said LEOs are not going to be available everywhere. But I guess what you're trying to refer to is that regulatory landing rights and those things, I guess.
Yeah, if you look around India map, even if you pull up a Starlink availability map of the world, if you look at Asia, I think there's 80% dark spots, and especially around India, whether it's east or west or north of India, it's all dark spots, right? So that's the reality.
All right. Now, I just wanted to make sure that the audience also caught onto that. But Utpal, what do you want to add on to that? I mean, what Shivaji is saying here is that Leo is going to come in and
I
grow
agree
the market.
first of all, I agree to the point that Shivaji says Geo and Leo are going to coexist, and we're going to work together on providing complementary connectivity. So technology should not be, considered. It's always considered. It should be like two layers of the same connectivity. I believe Geos will still work through. There's a lot of broadcast application they'll still use Geo. They like C-band and all, which they'll still use Geos. There's a lot of private connectivity, which will still want dedicated gateways, dedicated networks and all, which will still be on Geos, especially on the defense side and all. And then there'll be a lot of use cases, like Shivaji said, which maybe, kilobits and all information, with maybe too much for, doesn't economically work out for LEOs, whereas GEOs can do they can do grouping of sites and all, which is possible on the GEO side. So I believe it'll be a complementary service with GEO and LEO. And of course, but a lot of new demand, which we've talked about, might go, it'll be like 60-40, 60% may go to LEOs, that's
So he also mentioned that it's a tough market with the lowest ARPUs in the world with very high demand. So I'm going to ask you a little bit of a tough question. I'm going to take your call in terms of how much you want to share, but can you let the audience here know, are you going to be able to meet that kind of the affordability that the market wants and needs in a country like India?
So, okay, I'm not going to talk about price points definitely, but what I can assure you that, look, at Amazon we recognize this ARPU and this affordability issues. We are working basically the way Kuiper is being designed. We are working to use the existing Amazon ecosystem very certainly. So we are working towards using our manufacturing ecosystem for devices that we have, all the Alexa devices. So we'll build our terminals using that. We'll also reuse our global logistics and shipping. That will also help us work on passing on some benefits to the customer. And then I think most of our ground segments and network will be based on our existing ecosystem of AWS data center. There's a lot of, especially in India, there's a lot of investment that AWS already made. In what Google is doing now, I think AWS has already done this in India, and we'll be working on top of that ecosystem. And so the idea is not to duplicate infrastructure. It is to use the existing ecosystem that Amazon already has globally and within India, and so we'll be able to pass on some benefits to the end users.
All right. Well,
Vaibhav, I want to answer that on their behalf. See, it's a global constellation. They are popping up satellites in the US and serving the globe. They'll get their money from many other markets, and they're going to have X amount of terabits of capacity over India. The price is going to fall till it's served. It's obvious.
Okay, don't
and
negotiate.
There's no downside in
Don't negotiate
doing
with Utpal on the panel.
So I have no doubt they'll match the Indian price expectations till they're able to sell out their capacity. It's just natural.
Okay, that's a good point there. Well, let's move on a little bit. Shivaji, I want to talk about the segments that are important for India. You did kick off IFC, and you mentioned IFC. And we heard your view on IFC already. Utpal, you want to take a crack at IFC? You want to talk about what Kuiper thinks about that and what you're doing?
So for IFC, we feel it's a good, we can have a good global network on LEOs, Because first of all, unlike Geo's, we don't have to change beams. We don't have to change service providers. We don't have to change the antennas or the equipment on the. So basically, yeah, we think we'll have a global network from mobility and IFC perspective. And within India, I think we'll like to pass on or work with partners on those benefits on that.
So you are starting to look at that segment.
We are working on. So we are working on all verticals. The mobility and IFCs will be a major vertical. Yeah.
So Shivaji, this is one of the markets where the maximum number of planes have been ordered, right? In terms of a growing economy, right? Both players like Indigo, Air India, etc. place massive orders for airline. So what do you see? Do you see this as a line fit market, or do you see this as a retrofit market initially? What's going to happen more? What's that demand? Where's that capacity going to? People will pay for it. I mean, what's the demand?
See, with the narrow body, the way the LEO terminals are sized, the advantage of line fit compared to the earlier disadvantage of a downtime due to retrofit is minimized. So I really feel, and that's what Starlink's pitch is, our retrofit is, we can do it in 12 hours on a plane. It's as good as a line fit. So I feel that for narrow body, line or retro, it may not matter that much, and also the terminal cost has come down, that the airline doesn't necessarily need it funded upfront as part of their HBC Plus program. But for the wide body, definitely they are still looking at a LEO Geo solution for a global coverage, and they will look at line fit. So that's why an HBC Plus program of Airbus is still going to be the way, say, an Air India, which is signed up for global, all their wide bodies are on Airbus. So that's how they're going to go about
So for satellite operators here in the room, from the Geo perspective, you mentioned that Geo still has a big role. What do you think on a per aircraft basis, etc.? Is there some color you could give a little bit more in terms of what kind of demand you would see to each aircraft, or is there anything that the airlines are actually envisioning now in reality?
Yeah, definitely they're getting much more demanding in the bandwidth, the SLA, and the flexibility that they want to offer. So, for example, an SES Open Orbits, their offering is like 20 meg CIR, 40 meg and 60 meg CIR per plane. So they don't have a pool or a low bandwidth option. So they are giving a lot of capacity, and airlines are choosing the higher ones. When HNS goes and also gives an offer, it's for us, because we are a bandwidth management company always, our tone has been more on flexibility. You may get free Wi-Fi to the premium passengers and different kind of bandwidth models for other passengers. So I'll say that for wide body, the need is different and much more bandwidth. For narrow body, it's the cost which is important, and they may give certain type of services free or included in the ticket, something as a value add at the time of booking. Corporate passengers, which are 20% of Indian passengers, they sign up for the value-added service at the time of booking. So you have different kinds of models. But I'll say for all the operators, it's important that the bandwidth need is quite dynamic. And, I think some CIR, but mainly an MIR-based network is what I think is needed to cater to these dynamic demands.
So we have only 4 minutes left, and time just flew on the panel. I didn't keep a track. I only talked about IFC. I want to talk about defense and a lot of other places. Don't have enough time to do that, but let me take a question here. So, have there been any recent successes that, what can foreign builders do for having better share? Do you think people need to really do something special in India? For you, Shivaji, I guess, because...
Yeah, so I'll say InSpace came out with the Indian space policy, and a lot of foreign players have applied and got approval. SES, Intelsat, SATCOM, OneWeb, Starlink, Geo SES. So they've all got approval. And in order to get approval, you need to do something which will help the Indian economy. So you just can't come 100% FDI and 100% imports. So for example, SES has set up a big developmental and support center in Chennai. OneWeb set up gateways in India and put in a local partnership with Airtel. Starlink has committed to manufacturing terminals in India, and I'm sure Kuiper has not yet reached that point of getting approval, but I'm sure they're in discussions to do some such thing. So there is a policy, it's being followed. Foreign players are operating and providing service in India. So we are past the stage of will it happen? There's a way to happen, and the government has made it flexible because the same formula, manufacturing, launch, back office may not work for all. So you can tailor it and apply and get the approval.
So the 2 minutes are left on this panel, and part of the, is AI as well for us in this conference. And there's a question there I see on top, which is about AI. So I want to use that as a segue and just quickly see what we can get from the panelists on what's happening with AI, how that's going to help drive the demand. So, India is not really playing as heavy as the US is in terms of AI. It's still nascent. There's going to be a lot of use of AI. But yes, Google announced this data center. It's going to be huge demand, 1.4 billion people. What do you see as more and more AI systems come in and they're becoming more complex, right? How will you benefit from it, or are you going to use it? Is it going to drive the demand? What are your thoughts in these areas? Just quickly, we have very little time on the panel.
Well, I can take a jab at it. Yeah. So first of all, AI is again driven through innovation, and I'm going to talk about innovation, and AI will be part of it. So, one of the things that we are working on is basically AI-based network optimization. So like I said, we will be based on an existing AWS ecosystem. It will be a hybrid network. So AI-based network optimization, where it is a seamless traffic management between a terrestrial network and a satellite network. I think that is what we're working on. So basically, network will be a seamless network. It doesn't work in isolation like an existing satellite network or something like that. So that's one of the things. And then, of course, your network should be resilient enough to work for look at peak traffics or traffic optimizations, as well as weather condition monitoring and all those things. So at Amazon, these are not a very distant future. We are looking at this to integrate in the Kuiper system. Apart from that, we are looking at building very simple and complex terminals, which are like self-reliant. User can automatically use it with the help of apps, AI-based apps, and everything, which can be easily deployed. So your technology can be very good, but if it's very complex, it's not. It kind of hinders adoption. And we look at that as a very good innovation to make it like a self-adopt thing. Easy to install terminals. And of course, we are also looking at a software-defined network that uses AI and tech to manage basically all the network traffic routing and everything. So in all, we are working in Kuiper. The Kuiper system is being designed to include a lot of AI and innovation, and then we are happy to make sure that this comes to India and globally very soon.
Well, I wouldn't have expected any less from Amazon. But let me take another question quickly on this. This is the tech which will drive your network.
Right.
You're also into hosted services, and so there's a role that AI can also play in terms of driving demand. So what are your thoughts on that? Is Amazon going to use that? Are you going to have an AI offering, or?
Yeah, so I think AWS is already having a agentic AI offering and everything. A few of my panelists, I think my colleagues spoke about it. And at some point of future, Kuiper will have like a bundled offering for enterprise customers and everything, where they can use like a public, they can use public IP routing over cloud, and then a lot of these AWS tools will be available to Kuiper customers as well. So it will be like a bundle offering, and then that should demand. Definitely, I'm looking at some vertical like media and entertainment, where everything is like a private cloud, hosted content services and everything. That can definitely drive demand on the LEOs as well.
Well, content is big always in India.
Right, absolutely.
Bollywood. All right, guys, I think I have run out of time. I have probably gone over by 2 minutes. I don't see any more questions unless and until.
Well, it's not a technical question, but a couple of years ago, Starlink came into India without permission. And the Indian government said, don't do that. And Starlink said, go take a hike. Go pound sand. I think the direct quote was, let the Indian government shake its fists at the sky. That was the deal. Does that create a kind of a muscle memory in the Indian political class? This is what they're dealing with Starlink? Or if Starlink comes in there with a lower price and a better service, all is forgotten? Because I'm thinking that maybe Kuiper could come in back of that and say, you see those cowboys there? We're not cowboys. And that maybe will have market advantages for you. Is that a ridiculous thing to say, or is that possible?
So, look, to answer your question, not Kuiper, maybe Kuiper is new to India, but Amazon has been working in India for long. AWS has big investments in there. So we know the regulatory environment, and we've been working from the retail side and from AWS and from all the verticals that we have. So we know the regulatory environment, so we're going to use that knowledge to make sure we do the right things in India. And then our regulatory team has been working very closely with the government.
Are you worried about Reliance Jio and their plans for a potential there? Are you worried about Reliance Jio and their movements in this?
I think what I can say is we're going to work with everybody and we're going to coexist with everybody.
So, Peter, if the cowboys are afraid of anyone, it's Indians. And secondly, they didn't tell the Indian government to take a hike. The country manager who ran the wrong campaign was asked to take a hike. For the last 2 years, Starlink has worked very diligently and not in a cowboy manner to really comply with all the rules and laws of the country. So I can tell you that. So it's not a top-down push. It is definitely a lot of work which has happened on the ground and on merit. I think Jan, Feb. Both Starlink and OneWeb will go up concurrently.
Anybody other than Peter and Terry have any more inquisitive questions for the panel? If not, thank you very much, gentlemen. We only had half an hour today, but India is a huge subject. We hope we can do more such panels on India in the future. Thanks.
Thank you.
Thanks, sir.
And we can surely continue the conversation during coffee break soon afterwards. But